Hey guys, Phil from Trail Talk here, and it's time for the annual Buyer's Guide month. This is where I go over my best value bikes for the coming season. So this year we're talking about 2020 bikes, and starting with the short travel dual suspension trail bikes. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button. We'll have an enduro bike as well as an all-mountain bike buyer's guide, as well as an e-bike buyer's guide. So we're covering all bases this year. So I've listened to your guys' advice from last year's buyer guide. I'm gonna switch things up a little bit. Last year, I couldn't recommend any bikes under the sub 2,000 Australian dollar category. However, there's more bikes below that category that I can recommend this year. So we're gonna do a few more budget options. So this year we've got 3 different price points. So we've got the 1 to 2,000 Australian dollar mark, we've got the 2 to 3,000, as well as the 3 to 4,000 dollar mark. So all prices are listed in Australian dollars. However, just for reference, $1 US equals 1.5 Australian dollars, and 1 British pound equals 1.8 Australian dollars. So let's start with defining what a short travel trail bike is. So in my eyes, it's a bike that descends as well as it climbs. So it's a true all-rounder. So if you do anything from XC riding to more enduro riding, it's gonna be the best bike to do everything. So for me, this is around the 110 to 130 millimeter travel range. Travel's not the full story, you got geometry as well, but that's kind of what we're sticking with for this video. And then for the all-mountain trail range, we're kind of going 130 to 150. Saying that, these bikes are getting really capable descending these days, so it does blur the category between these shorter travel trail bikes and what used to be a more all-mountain bike. So one last thing before we get into the bikes, I will be updating this list throughout the year, so if any bikes come out after this video is posted, I will update them and put them in the pin post, so make sure you check that if I've missed a bike or anything like that. Check that first to see if I recommend it. So let's waste no more time, let's get into the $1,000 to $2,000 price category. So as I said earlier, I couldn't really recommend any bikes in this price point last year as they were plagued with quick release rear axles and dated geometry. However, there's been a few bikes that have come out this year that I actually really recommend. So these bikes are going to provide a good platform for someone entering the sport or someone that's a bit more budget conscious, and the geometry is not going to let them down in the future. So it really is a good platform to build on. So the first bike that I recommend is the brand new for 2020 Polygon Siskiyou D7. There is also the D5 at a cheaper price point. However, the D7 offers a better all-round package, so if you can afford it, I'd definitely go the D7 over the D5. So the D7 retails for $1,899, but is available for $1,799 at Bicycles Online, and they're also available in the US as well as Australia on Bicycles Online, so definitely check those guys out. So let's have a closer look at the frame. So over last year's model, you now get a bolt-through rear axle, so that's going to improve things a fair bit, so a bit more stiffness. You also get refined suspension kinematics as well as a new frame, so you're getting up-to-date gear with that too. So the bike comes in 27.5 inch wheels in the small and medium, and 29 inch wheels for the size medium through to XL, and sports 120 millimeters of travel front and rear. So the geometry has been drastically improved over the last model. So in a size large, you get a 465 millimeter reach, which, as I said, big increase over the last model. You also get an up-to-date 76-degree seat angle, so that's nice and steep, which is going to help with climbing. And then you get a 67.5 degree head angle, which is a good number for an all-rounder. To round it off, you get 436 millimeter chainstays, so nice and short, which should keep things nice and fun. So looking at the spec of the bike, you got a RockShox Recon up front, which has a through axle, so matching the rear. And then you've also got an Xfusion shock, which also has adjustable rebound and lockout, which is good to see at this price point. It's also got a modern cockpit with a 45mm stem, as well as 780mm wide bars. So for the drivetrain, you're really seeing a trickle down with all this 1x drivetrain stuff. So you get a mix of Shimano SLX, XT, as well as Sunrace. So you get a Dior XT rear derailleur, SLX shifter, and a Sunrace 11-speed 11 to 46 tooth cassette. So a nice solid 1x setup. You also get a tubeless wheel set and Shimano M201 hydraulic brakes. The only downside, you don't get a dropper post at this price point. However, at this price, the dropper posts usually aren't the most reliable, so save up some pennies and upgrade later. So the new Siskiyou D7 is a great all-round package and a really good platform to build up on. I'll also be getting my hands on this bike soon, so make sure you subscribe for a review coming soon. So the next bike on our list is for our UK viewers, and that's the Calibre Boss Nut, which was recently updated for this year. So like the Polygon, the Boss Nut has seen very similar improvements for this year with updated geometry and the addition of a bolt-through rear axle. So looking at the geometry of the bike, you get a modern 66-degree head angle, 460mm reach on the size large, and a 74.5-degree seat angle. So slightly slacker than the Polygon, but isn't a huge issue on a shorter travel bike. The bike has 130mm of rear and front travel and rolls on 27.5-inch wheels. This bike is definitely made for fun with the 66-degree head angle and the smaller wheels. The spec is also pretty impressive at this price point. So it's a SRAM heavy build, it's got level T brakes, which aren't necessarily my favourite, but they do the job. A SRAM SX 12-speed drivetrain, so crazy that you're seeing 12-speed on such cheap bikes. You've got a Recon fork as well as a Monarch R shock. What's impressive about the caliber is that they worked with RockShox for a custom tune on this shock, so that's awesome to see at this price point. So the cockpit's also modern like the Polygon, so you've also got 780mm bars as well as a 45mm stem. You also get tubeless ready rims too. The tyres aren't tubeless ready, but the rims are. And there's no dropper like the Polygon, but as I said, this would be the first upgrade that I'd recommend. So both these bikes offer something that really wasn't available for riders at this price point, a reliable up-to-date package that didn't really sacrifice on geometry, and also you get that through axle as well this year. So it's really good to see that these bikes can really grow with riders now as they start off at a more budget price point, and then you can upgrade it into a really capable bike in the future. So now we're onto the $2,000 to $3,000 price category. This is where we start to see a lot of the major players introduce their short travel trail bikes. So the good thing about bikes in this price category, we're seeing a lot of the same frames on these bikes on bikes that cost often up to double the price of them. So you're getting a lot of value here and the geometry of these better bikes. So you can really upgrade as you go. So they're really a great platform to start on. So the first bike we're looking at is the brand new for 2020 Merryn Rift Zone 1 and 2. So 2 bikes in this price category, you can pick either of them. So last year's model also featured on last year's buyer's guide. So updates for this year are the typical longer, low and slacker, which make this bike super capable in descent and is probably the best descending bike on this list. So if you prefer descending, this is probably the one to go for. So looking at the geometry of the bike, you've got a roomy 480mm reach on the size large, so that's the biggest out of all the bikes on this list. You've also got an aggressive 65.5 degree head angle. So this is a head angle you usually see on more aggressive all mountain bikes. So it's good to see on a shorter travel bike. And then you've got short 425mm chainstays and a steep 76 degree seat angle. So this will help with climbing too. So this is the kind of geometry you'd expect to see on a more higher end bike like a Santa Cruz or a Yeti. So it's awesome to see at this price point, and it should be a really capable descender as well as a nice climber. And then it's also going to be nice and fun because of those short chainstays. So this will be an awesome bike. So spec wise, you're getting really good value for money too. So looking at the 2, so the higher end model, you're getting a better rear shock, a 1x12 drivetrain, and you're also getting a dropper post and better compound tires. On the cheaper model, you're not getting that dropper as I said, and you get a 1x11 drivetrain. So both these bikes offer a great platform to build on, so I wouldn't be too concerned if you can't afford the higher end model. It is nice to have that dropper post, but don't be too concerned there. You're getting the geometry, and that's the main thing that you'd be buying this bike for. And like the Polygon, the Merryn's available at Bicycles Online Australia, so you're getting these bikes directly from factory, so you're getting really good value for money with these bikes. So I'll also be getting our hand on a Rift Zone soon, so if you want to subscribe to the channel, that review will be coming soon. So the next bike is actually another one that I recommended last year, and that's the Norco Fluid FS. I actually reviewed the FS one last year as well, so if you want to check out the review for that, I'll leave the link in the description. So my main criticism of the bike was the front tyre as well as the brakes, which have both been changed for this year. We see that it has Shimano MT420 4-piston brakes, so they're new for this year, so it'll be good to see how those are, but with the Shimano 4-piston brakes, I'm sure they're going to be great. And then you've also got a 2.6 Minion DHF in the 3C Max Terra, so that's not a cheap tyre and it's going to offer loads of grip. So other spec includes a RockShox Recon fork, which has been pretty popular at this price point, a Deluxe R rear shock, so no lockout there, just rebound adjustment. You've got 130mm of travel up front and 120 in the rear. You've got a SRAM SX 12-speed drivetrain, the really impressive Xfusion Manic dropper post, which I've also reviewed. I'll put the link in the description. And then you also have Stan's Flow D rims, so really good rims and they're tubeless ready. And rounding off the package, you've got a thoroughly modern cockpit too on this bike, so nice wide bars as well as a short stem. In terms of geometry, it's pretty modern for a short travel trail bike as well. So you've got a 66.5 degree head angle, long 470mm reach on the size large, and then you've got short 429mm chainstays, so keep things nice and fun. You've also got a steep 76 degree seat angle. So 76 degree seat angle, as I said, going to help with climbing a fair bit, and it seems to be a popular number for this year. So from reviewing this bike last year, I noticed it's a bike that loves fast flowy trails, so if that suits you, then it's definitely worth a look. And again, if you want to check out an in-depth review of the bike, click the link in the description. So both these bikes offer really good geometry that you often see on more expensive bikes. So I definitely recommend these bikes if you're in the $2,000 to $3,000 category, and they're really great platforms to build on. So definitely check these two bikes out. So now we're getting into some real money at the $3,000 to $4,000 price category. I feel at this point, this is where you start to see diminishing returns with going really any more expensive, so it really is my sweet spot for when you're buying a new bike. And you shouldn't really have to upgrade really anything on these bikes, they should be good to go. And this is a very competitive price point, so I'm going to include 4 bikes in this price point. So for the first bike, another shock here, it's another one that I recommended last year, and it's the Merida 120, in particular the 700 model. So I actually reviewed the 2019 model when the frame was updated, but that was the 600 model. But if you want to check out the review on that, I'll put the link in the description as well. So the 120 is a really well-rounded bike with some amazing rear suspension. It's efficient but still super active when you want it to be, and it excels on both flowy as well as technical descents. So the 700 comes with amazing spec for the money, probably the best spec out of any of the bikes on this list. You get a mixture of brand new Shimano 12-speed SLX and XT, you get the new SLX 4-piston brakes, so they're absolutely amazing. You get the great RockShox Revelation RC fork and a deluxe Sect Plus shock, so you get rebound as well as a lockout on that. Another good thing to see, you also get a 170mm dropper on the size large and extra large frames. You get decent tires too. You get a DHR up front in the 3C Max Terra compound, which is really good to see. And then you've got a faster rolling tire in the rear in the Maxxis Forecaster. So although the Merida probably has the best spec for the money on this list, it's probably also got the most conservative geometry. So if you do a lot of high speed descending, this probably isn't the bike for you, but if you do a lot of mixture between technical as well as more flowy descents, then it's going to be a good balance. So because the bike is slightly shorter, it does feel a bit more snappy and agile compared to some of the bikes on this list too, so it's not all downsides because of this. So looking at the numbers, in a size large, you have a 455mm reach, the head angle is 67.5, and then you've got a steep 75.5 degree seat angle. And then you've also got 435mm chainstays. So a more balanced package. So when I reviewed this bike, I really enjoyed riding it. Balance was the main thing that came to mind. You feel balanced on the bike, you don't have to move around that much at all, and it really balances climbing and descending really well. So it really is a true trail bike. Another 2 words that I'd use to describe the bike is fun as well as comfortable. It's really good over those technical sections, so nice and comfortable over those, and also comfortable in the saddle when you're riding it all day. So a really good bike for the money. So the next bike again is another one that I recommended last year, and that's the Trance 29er. And this is the only bike from the big 3, so Specialized and Trek being the other 2 major brands, that makes this list. So the Trance 29 is a great all-rounder like the Merida. It offers 115mm of rear travel and 130 up front. And what you get for the money is pretty amazing for a big brand, so that's good to see. So when it comes to the spec of the bike, the suspension is a real highlight. So you get the brand new Marzocchi Bomber Z2 up front, so that's 130mm of travel. So it's a brand new fork for 2020. It's very stiff for a 34mm stanchion fork, and it utilizes Marzocchi's new rail damper, which is awesome to see Marzocchi doing their own dampers again, but it utilizes Fox's Evol air spring. So all the stuff in servicing, all handled by Fox, so that's good to see. So you're never really going to have any issues sorting out issues with this fork. And then in the rear, you get a Fox DPS shock as well. So it's good to see that you're getting good suspension on a bike like this. Other spec includes the SRAM SX 12-speed drivetrain. You've got the Shimano MT401 brakes. You've got a giant dropper post, and then you've also got a Maxxis DHF and DHR. However, that only comes in the dual compound, so not the 3C Max Terra that we're seeing on a few of the other bikes. On the geometry side of things, it's slightly more progressive than the Merida, however it still aims to kind of give that good all-round package. So on a size large, you've got a 462mm reach, you've got a 66.5 degree head angle, a 74.5 degree seat angle, so not the steepest, and a 435 chainstay, so a real good all-round package for a good trail bike. So this is a great bike for the money. You're also getting that great factory support from Giant. It's a local bike shop brand as well, so if you like to support your local bike shop, then it's one for you. And if you do like shopping with the big 3, this is definitely the bike that I would recommend. So I know you're probably sick of hearing all the same bikes, but here's another one that I recommended earlier in the list, and that's the Norco Fluid FS, but this time we're talking about the 1 model, so the highest end model in the Fluid. So looking at the spec of the bike, the main upgrades you get over the 2 model, you're getting the brand new XT SLX 12-speed drivetrain. You're also getting the awesome RockShox Pike Select fork, and it also comes in a sick copper color, which is pretty much reason enough to go for this model as well. And as I said earlier, if you want to learn a bit more about this bike, I definitely recommend checking out the long-term review. It's a pretty comprehensive review and it will answer any of the questions that you have to do with this bike. So we finally made it to the last bike. Thanks for sticking around this long. This bike is my MVP, so if I was going to pick a bike, this would be the one that I'd pick. And again, it's a frame from early in the list, and it's the Merryn Rift Zone. However, we're looking at the 3 model now, so the top of the line model in the Rift Zone. So on the Rift Zone 3, you get the Bomber Z2 fork. So as I said, this is an awesome fork, and like the Giant, you get the Fox DPS Shock 2. You get the Shimano SLX 12-speed derailleur and shifter. However, you're getting a Sunrace 12-speed cassette, so not the full drivetrain there. You also get the V Flow Snap tires in the grippy tacky compound. And then you also get the Xfusion Manic dropper post, so a really good dropper post. And then you also get the Shimano MT420 brakes, so you get 4 piston brakes too, which is good to see. This bike's just the all-around package. You're getting great value for money, and the geometry is amazing too. It's going to be a bike that can handle anything that you really throw it at. It's the most progressive out of all the bikes that we've talked about here. Nice long reach, slack head angle, so it's going to be really capable in the descents, and it should be comfortable in the climbs too with that steeper seat angle. So I'm going to be spending some time on this bike soon, so make sure you subscribe for the review coming soon. So there you go, there's my list of the best value short travel trail bikes for 2020. So as I said earlier, I'll be updating this list in the pinned comments, so if any bikes come out that I definitely recommend, I'll be putting it there. And if you have any questions about any bikes or anything like that, I'll be answering all the comments on this video, so definitely leave a comment. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like, also subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.